Hello and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. I've been showing you various instruments, the sasutos, the penny whistles, the song flutes, the tonettes, and things like that, and showing you how they're similar to each other, showing you how they've been built. And so I'm just going to show you this penny whistle and just review a little bit about how it's built, because what I want to do today is to show you recorders. And when I show you I want to show you the ocarinas, and they're built somewhat similar. So here's a penny whistle, built very much like a recorder, and I'll twist it around a little bit. The head joint and mouthpiece is right here, and you have that labium, which is right here, which is also called an aperture, which is where the air comes out of, the long tube. Then you have the positions for your fingers, the tone holes for your fingers, and there's no tone hole in the back, but the recorders do have them. Penny whistles don't have them. You blow in to the mouthpiece, which is right here. There's going to be a slit. I don't know if you can catch it or not. It's not important, really, but it's a slit. You blow into it, and then the air goes, and your mouth acts as a cap, so the air can't go everywhere, and it goes down through the aperture or the labium, and then you finger, and the longer the tube, the lower the tone, and so you get low tones to high tones. You know, it does get really squealy and loud on the upper register, but that's just the way they are. But this is just very much like the recorder, which I'll show you, which is the same, basically the same thing, and you've seen it dozens of times if you watch the show. The head joint is right here. The labium is right up here. And then when you blow into it, you blow into the mouthpiece. Is a little slit there, and you blow into it, and I've shown you how you place your teeth in that. And then you see you have your left hand on top, your right hand on the bottom, and then there is a tone hole in the back that you use for some notes plus octaves, which the penny whistles don't have. So they're all kind of similar. So what I want to show you are the ocarinas. The ocarinas, even though they're shaped different, are all basically on the same principle. And I brought a few in for you to see. A lot of them are small, and they're squarish or they're roundish, and they have kind of a history, but let me show you the parts to it that I want to discuss with you a little about the history of the ocarina. The ocarinas are one of the oldest instruments of all times. They go way back in antiquity. They were in Africa and in China, and gradually made it to the Mediterranean countries. And I'm thinking specifically of Italy, where they were renamed, and then they went to the European countries and to the United States. They're a worldwide instrument. Everybody has them, and they're very, very nice instruments. I'm going to tip it back a little. You can see the finger holes right there. Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. Now, the labium, just like a recorder. The finger holes are beside each other. In fact, you can see right through one of them. Right here, they're right beside each other, so they don't go up and down, and there's no such thing as your left hand goes on top, the right hand goes on the bottom. What you actually do is you place your fingers to each side. So you're placing your fingers on the tone hole left and right. Left goes to the left, right goes to the right. And you have the place where you blow in is right in front. There, you can see that little slit right there. That's the mouthpiece, and you blow into that. And in the back you have tone holes, like you would in a recorder, except there's two here, and in the recorder you only have one. So the way that they're made is basically the same. You blow in And then you have your tone holes in front. You just use both hands, and the holes are opposite each other rather than being straight up and down. And you have your aperture. It's pretty much the same. Now, they come in different sizes. Some are squarish, some of them are curved, and they play well. If you get a large one, and when I talk about large one, this one's made out of wood, by the way. If you get a large one, and by large I mean about this big, like we're talking 8 inches, 9, maybe a foot. I mean, they don't come huge. The tone can be magnificent. The tone can be absolutely beautiful, and they can play very beautifully. And so they are a nice instruments. Most people, of course, they don't spend that much, and they have the smaller ones. So let me give you some history about the ocarinas. They're very old, as I said before. They came into antiquity. They had them in Africa. They had them in China, and they went into the Mediterranean countries, including Italy. And they were at one time called an ocular flute. And it was an ocular flute because many of them were roundish. And when they first started making them, they were shaped like animals. Now, the idea was to create music. And so they were on the same principles as what you use now. You blow in and you get a sound. So how do you get more sounds rather than just one? Well, you use an arrangement of where you put your fingers on certain holes in certain places at certain times, and you can get a scale out of them. So when they got to the point where they were in Italy, they didn't call them ocular flutes anymore. They called them either sweet potato ocarinas, and I don't know why that word was used because it has nothing to do with a sweet potato. And then it was called ocarina. It was changed. There was a man in Italy that changed the name to ocarina. They have been everywhere. Tons of people have played them. They're a nice instrument. And in World War II, I believe it's World War II, the United States government made many of the sweet potato ocarinas that they gave to the soldiers because they wanted them to have a way to play music and calm themselves down and have something that they can enjoy. So this is the sweet potato ocarina. I mean, it doesn't play 100% well, but it does play some. And so I imagine what they gave out to the soldiers was a little better quality than this, but it's called a sweet potato ocarina. And this shape was started when the instrument got to Italy. So you blow right in here. This would be your mouthpiece. And then your hands go here for the fingerings. So it's a little bit different than some, but it plays about the same, and it's on the same principle. So I want to show you some of these. As I say, they've been very popular over the years, and I've got some unusual ones. But it's the same, remember, the same principle as the recorders. So this is made out of clay. That can be made out of clay or wood or plastic. That would be the general thing. I'm going to hold this up. This was made in Peru. This is a Peruvian ocarina. Let me straighten this up a little, if I can. There we go. It's got a hand-painted cross. This is all hand-done. Handmade and hand-done. And you can see there is a cross on it. It is made to be worn. It has a little thingy in the back where you can thread through a ribbon, which I've done. I never use chains. On crosses that I wear, I never use chains. I always use ribbon. No matter how expensive they are or how inexpensive they are or what the instruments are if they're made to be worn. And the reason for that is that with the ribbon, it's a lot less abrasive. If you have a metal cross, and I wear crosses most of the time, but if you have a metal cross and you have a chain in it, that chain's going to be abrasive. And the loop or whatever it is you put the chain through can gradually be worn down by the chain to the point where you can't wear it anymore. So ribbons are not abrasive, so it's better for the cross or whatever it is you're wearing for jewelry. And there are so many color combinations, you can actually match the colors easily. So I got this beige ribbon because the back of this instrument is all beige. As I say, it's Peruvian. It's all painted, but the painting in the back is just a plain kind of beige. And you see your labium is right here. Not in the front of the instrument, but on the back. And there are a number of instruments where that is true. And then, of course, you have two little tone holes in the back, right where my fingers are. There, you can see that. That's very good. And then in the front, you have where you blow right here. And you can see that's hand carved, so it's not exactly even all the way through. And they have colored the front, added a cross to it. I have a number of these ocarinas that are hand done. They're all hand done. And it plays fairly well. You can see the tone is good. It's got a good tone, and it's very breakable. Now, if I do a music seminar, sometimes I do a music seminar, and I used to do more than I do now, but I used to wear it. It is made to be worn. So that is a Peruvian ocarina, and I have also another one made out of clay, and it's an Irish one. And you can see in the front, if you take a look at that, there is a Celtic cross on the front of it. Also made to be worn, but you can see it's kind of not horribly obvious, but it is a Celtic cross. And then if I tip it up, you can see this is the mouthpiece, and this is where you blow in, right here. And in the back of it, you have 2 or 3 places to put your fingers. You can see the tone holes right there. And there's one in the back. This would be the front. It's done pretty much the same, designed pretty much the same for front and back. It's greenish. It looks a little more bluish on the monitor, but it is greenish. And here again, plays. Now, I don't know, different quality of tone, but very, very breakable, and it's made to be worn. It has the red cord that came with it. So that's Irish. That's Celtic. Then the sweet potato one I just showed you, this gives you an example, and I've gone over this a little bit. So this is a sweet potato ocarina. I want to mention, let me see what I've got over here. I want to mention this. This is unusual. It's called the mini ocarina. It's the smallest one I've got. It's about 1 inch to 1.5 inches square. Very, very tiny. And it can play a full scale in the key of C, and it's pretty much perfectly pitched. Now, when you buy these ocarinas, they'll say generally it's in the key of C. In other words, it may not be exact, but that's pretty much what it is. There may be some variation. So if I blow it into it, the mouthpiece is right here, just a little tiny slit. There it is. It's hard to see, but there it is. And then in the back, you have this one tone hole, pretty much like the recorders would have, just one. If I bend it just right, you can see it there. And then in the front, you have 4 tone holes. I'm going to see if I can hold it up this way for you to see the 4 tone holes. Maybe better if I just put my fingers on them. This is how you'd play it. Now I want to into a church and I was scheduled to do a solo, and I says, I'm going to do a solo on this. And they said, oh, sure, great, yeah, you can do that, can't you? And everybody was amazed. This thing makes a very loud tone if you know how to tweak it to do that. And it's only about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. The tiniest little ocarina, it's called a mini ocarina, made out of plastic. And actually it was made in Hong Kong. And it plays very, very well in the key of C. You're not going to do much for sharps or flats on it, but you can get a whole scale in the key of C. So that's the mini, also made to be worn. And when I stood up before the congregation and they were saying, I don't think she can do it, I don't think she can do it, I played Hallelujah on this, and I did it. Now, I didn't do a whole lot of fancy stuff, but who would expect that out of 1.5 inch instrument? So that is one of the smallest ones. Of course, the small ones, the major instruments are the small one. Actually, this is the smallest instrument I own. It's a harmonica, and it's about 1 inch long. It plays 4 notes, and it was put out by Hohner. It's perfect pitch. It's in the key of C. It's perfect pitch. It's a Hohner. It was made in Germany, and I'm going to play the 4 notes. Now it's going to be like a chord. 4 notes. That's all you can get. But for anything this size, I had someone try to take it on me once. She says, I want that. I want one just exactly like that. Do you really like all of the instruments? And I looked at her and I says, you're not getting this one. It was a novelty item. I don't even know if they're made anymore. It was kind of a novelty item, but it is perfect pitch in the key of C. I could tune an orchestra to this, and it would be perfect pitch. Now, the other one I want to go into is going to be the puny tune. This is an ocarina, and I'll show it to you, and then I'm going to go into the little book that describes it. Here it is. It's shaped a little differently, and the labium is right up here where my finger is, and then you have to be careful how you place your fingers. It's a little hard to do it, but you can do it. 4 of the openings, but the way I have to do it, I have to crisscross my thumbs because otherwise I can't cover them all. And then there's nothing in the back for a tone hole, but it plays pretty well. And someone put out a book about this, supposedly like it was an animal. I mean, it's just a novelty thing, but it's kind of cute. I like it. It plays well. Let me show you a little about this puny tune. This was put out by a company, and the book is written by Mumford, and I'm going to hold this up. And it's presenting the puny tune as a pet, a personal pet, an animal. And so it has some pictures. There it is, like it's singing. Now, I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but if we look at this picture down here, whoops, it's supposedly like a little animal and it's on legs. It has feet, and it's got little arms too. And so it's made there's a whole book made about it, and there's another sketch here where it looks almost as if it was a little pig. There, that's coming in good. And supposedly it's like an animal tipped up on its side. And you'll notice, I just want to check with you because you're going to notice that the fingering charts that show you how to play it are all in little squares. And I don't want you to hone in on any in particular, just to show it to you. And the reason for that is that when you're holding these ocarinas, you have to put one hand to the left, one hand to the right. It's not like you put left on top and right on the bottom. It's not like that. So they show it in little squares. That's very typical. And that's the way it's done here. And here's one that looks like a little fish, maybe. There it is. And the last one is up and down, like he's standing on his own 2 feet. And that area by the labium is, of course, his mouth. Now, it's all kind of cute. And if you get it, it says, this is a book dedicated to the puny tune and to the care and feeding of it. In other words, it's a pet, it's an animal. And this shows you how to take care of it. It says a guide to its care and feeding. Now, it's a complete joke, but the instrument is good. It plays well. And it's very nice, a little instrument. So those are the ones pretty much that I wanted to show you. I don't think I've left anything out here. But my purpose in doing that is the ocarina runs on the same principle as the recorder. It's got a mouthpiece. It's got an aperture. It's got a labium. It sometimes has a tone hole in the back. It has fingerings for the front. And it started real early in antiquity, but this is the way they made music. Blowing something and it squeals, or it squeaks, or it makes a tone. Then just perfect it. Get the tone holes just right. Get them in the right proportion to accommodate your fingers, and you can play regular music on it. So it's not far removed from what the recorder is. And since I've had the various instruments in, I decided to bring these in too. You can get them larger. You can get them that are very expensive. You can pay like hundreds of dollars for a very good ocarina, and they do play beautifully. I have the less expensive ones, but there's a lot you can do with the less expensive ones as well. So I'm trying to show you all of these instruments and how they blend together and how similar they are, and how you can transfer what you know about one instrument to help you play another instrument, because some of these instruments play almost exactly alike. So we'll close it here, and I will have an Israeli instrument next time that I want you to see, and then we'll go on from there. So well, I hope that you will join me next time.